Hi there, Rick here. Just wanted to do a review on a book that I just finished reading. It's called Freezing Order. Okay, this is it here. The author is Bill Browder, and he was a hedge fund manager or CEO in Russia, and he noticed some of his clients, okay, even I think other hedge funds, there was money going missing, and he looked into it, and well, I think what he discovered was it was dark money. A police officer, okay, um, was um, was embezzling money out of these companies, out of these hedge funds, and he hired um, he hired three lawyers, okay, two lawyers when they start to dig into where this money was going. Um, Two of them left the country. Okay, they left Russia. Okay, one of them stayed, and he was arrested. Okay, um, by one of these high-ranking officers in the police force and thrown in jail for 8 months. And he wasn't allowed to have any visitors. His health deteriorated. He was denied, uh, any sort of medical treatment. Okay. In the end, uh, they handcuffed him to a bed, and about 8 riot guards beat him with rubber batons, and he died. Um, so this lawyer, his last name was Majinsky, and so Bill Browder, the person who fled Russia, okay, um, he was trying to seek justice for his lawyer who was. The story is quite amazing because even Bill Browder was being at first he was accused of stealing uh, $230 million of a tax refund that his hedge fund was supposed to have paid, and this money, okay, it got laundered, okay, and Bill Browder, okay, he with the help of some other people, he was able to trace where the money went, and some of the money went to Switzerland, okay, and Switzerland, okay, they're very secretive about the accounts that they have. A lot of times they won't reveal that sort of stuff, whose account it is, but if it's money that's either embezzled or stolen or somebody was murdered, and this person stuffed the money in a Swiss bank account, they tend to kind of like freeze that money. And Browder, okay, he was trying to push for the Majinsky Act, okay. He got United States to adopt it, even Canada, and a lot of the other European countries as well. So what that means is that any money uh, that got laundered and put into another account um, would be frozen. Okay, and even any beneficiaries of this money too. Um, the money is being traced through different banks, and then what's happening? It's getting frozen, and even well, Vladimir Putin was getting involved, and he was trying to he was trying to get Bill Browder extradited back to Russia, where he would face trial, and he was facing about 18 years on top of another 18 years, so close to 40 years. But if he ever made it back to Russia, they would probably throw him in jail and then beat him, and then, well, he would probably be dead, just like Majinsky when he went to jail. And within 8 months, he went in a healthy man. He was about, I think, 37 years old. And then, well, within 8 months, he was dead. The cause of death was heart failure, okay? Um, so, it was Browder was, meeting, politicians and going to um, conferences that were, preaching human rights and justice for just for people that were falsely accused in their country for a crime. And in Russia, I guess things are done very differently there because um, it seems like when okay, this was a high profile death of a lawyer in Russia, and then the people in Russia was demanding uh, something be done. Okay, there's it was a high profile death, right? So they tried to blame what was it, this driver of another person, but of the mastermind of the crime. But that person ended up dead too, and then they tried to blame another person, and then that person ended up dead. So it just, I don't know, the whole thing seems so fishy in a way. And then Putin, when he met Donald Trump, he was trying to get um, 12 people from the United States extradited back to Russia. And of course, Browder was one of them, but it was a lot of the other people that he was trying to get extradited back to the United States were people that were involved in the Magnitsky Act. Um, and, you know, I think Trump was, he didn't say no, but he said, he just kind of like, I think he said, so I'll kind of think about it, because when there were 12 what is it, intelligence officers accused of manipulating the election, okay, United States wanted to put them on trial, and so Putin, he was willing to give these 12 military intelligence officers to United States, but he wanted something in return. He wanted 12 people too to go back to Russia to face trial. And well, Browder was one of them, and the other 11 people were people involved in the Magnitsky Act. Um, because Putin, apparently he had a lot of money invested in Europe, okay, even in United States as well too. And you have to remember, that's he had a lot of money invested in other accounts around the world too. So he doesn't want his money frozen either. Um, so it was a good read. Okay. Oh, I forgot to mention too. There was a banker in Russia. He met with another, I think, a banker in Estonia, because he knew that there was money being laundered, and he wanted to stop. Okay. He talked to one of I think the high-ranking banker in Estonia, just to basically, okay, stop, laundering this dark money. And then I guess maybe a few months later, he was shot to death in a parking lot along with his driver. And his driver died on the spot, but I guess he got hit in the body a few times and in the head. He still survived, and they brought him to the hospital in Russia, but he died at the hospital though. But it just seems very fishy how, wow, like, I mean, this person was a high-ranking person at a bank in Russia, and then somebody guns them down in a parking lot. Like, I mean, what was he involved in, right? And all they can think of was he met with a high executive at a bank in Estonia, and they knew that he was talking about trying to get the bank to clean up their act and stop laundering money. But the bank didn't. But I guess he passed on the word back to this organized crime ring back in Russia, and they don't like people sniffing into their business and trying to stop their money flow and their money laundering going on. So they sent some hit people after him and gunned him down. So in the end, well, I won't spoil for you, but it is a good read. Okay, it's what is it? It's a New York Times bestseller. Okay, and Bill Browder. Well, some of these people, they're handling a lot of money. Okay, in a hedge fund, and I think what he stumbled on was money laundering going on, and just some embezzlement going on. But there was high-ranking people involved in the Russian government, and it was being traced as high as even Vladimir Putin. Okay, he was. They're saying that he was involved because I guess they traced some of the money going into some of the accounts that he had. But apparently they uncovered other money that was kind of suspicious activity going on as well too, and it added up to, well, a lot of money, more than $230 million. I think in the end they traced as much as 1 trillion suspicious money moving through these banks that were laundering this money. Because this police officer, they did mention how much he was making, and it seemed like even for a high-ranking police officer in Russia, they don't they don't make enough to buy a luxury car like a Lexus or something like that. It's just beyond their abilities if you look at how much that they're making a year. And even Vladimir Putin, they also said how much he makes, but then the guy has 2 yachts, okay, almost like 800 feet long, valued at about $900 million each. He has about 700 cars. I think he owns vast amounts of property right around the entire world. How do you accumulate all this money? How are you making all this money? So for the amount of money that Vladimir Putin makes, it doesn't add up that he would own all this vast amounts of luxury yachts, 700 cars, vast amounts of property right around the entire world. He's there's a lot of journalists, I guess they even report on him that he's doing a lot of illegal stuff to accumulate this sort of cash. But even if you're a journalist in Russia, if you start accusing the wrong people, you end up disappearing, or sometimes even being shot or poisoned for that matter, because there were some anti-Putin groups out there, okay, even in Russia, and some of these leaders that are organizing these things, they're ending up being poisoned or shot. So it's very different in Russia, okay. I think it's a very militaristic type country, okay. I was gonna say almost like North Korea, but I guess you can't compare it to North Korea because North Korea is well, it's a very, well, they say a very totalitarian state, okay? And they even bar their own citizens from leaving the country. Like they literally put up a gate, okay? Electric fence. They have guards patrolling, okay? If you're caught trying to, swim the river and then make it to China side, if they see you, they'll literally shoot to kill you. And there's talk of starvation, um, random killings, okay, random state killings, okay, and these are public, so it's almost like a public execution. Um, but Kim Jong Un, if uh, I think if he didn't do the things that he did, he would. Well, if he didn't do the things that he was doing, I think half the population would probably leave the country just because, they're just, they know what he's doing. He's trying to brainwash the country and force the people to fight in his military and to stay loyal to his regime. But a lot of people, I think they already know what's really going on around the world and um, what he's doing to their country. Okay, so they're a lot of them are, I hear, okay, are starving. Okay, and nobody wants to live in a country where they're starving. They want to try to get out, right? So Freezing Order, okay, it's a good read. um, I would say, it gives you a look into politics a bit, okay? Um, and it's a very suspenseful story, okay? Um, but I think when you're dealing with big sums of money, okay, because this is $230 million that went missing, okay? Um, it's very tempting, I think, for some of these people, like like that police officer Pavlov, who doesn't even make that much, as I think he was like almost like a police chief. Um, he doesn't make that much, and this was kind of like almost like a side dirty business that he was doing, and Bill Browder kind of like had stumbled onto it, and because he stumbled on this, um, this money going missing from other hedge funds, and then his company, um, having $230 million stolen from it. It's a lot of money, okay, and I think if it was anyone else that didn't have as much power um, in the Russian government, they wouldn't have gotten away with it. But because there was a lot of very high people involved in the Russian government, um, even their court system, and Vladimir Putin getting involved in it too. Okay, um, it was just a lot of money being embezzled, and I'm not surprised that the police chief was involved in it, um, and a lot of other people involved in it as well too. But when it comes to literally murdering people for this money, um, and going after the business people in your country, because you see that, okay, they have, millions and millions of dollars. You know, I'm kind of like scraping by and not having a luxurious lifestyle like they have. I'm gonna go rob them and and try to cover it up if I can. So they did do that. They did cover it up, and well, Vladimir Putin getting involved, um, like the literal, the leader of the country in Russia get involved. It's very hard to try to get justice sometimes because, well, if you're kind of like the ruler of a military type country, um, they're able to get away with a lot more things, especially if you control the police system, you control the court system, you control, well, the country and the laws as a whole. Um, and It seems like anybody who speaks out against what was happening, um, were ending up either harassed or dead for that matter. So it was, I guess they really do things very differently in Russia, and still there's a lot of Russian people that don't agree with what's going on, and I think that's a big reason why some people leave their country too. They see their justice system as too corrupt, so they end up leaving. But I think a lot of people, um, they just they don't want to leave their country of birth, right? I think it's very difficult when you leave your country of birth and try to settle in a new country because sometimes, well, you don't know how to speak the language. You can't read and write their language. To learn that skill again is very difficult sometimes. It's not that easy. So yeah, I recommend this book, Freezing Order. It took me a couple. I was reading it off here and there. It took me a couple of weeks to finish it, but I would say that it's one of the best books I've read.